Hello survivors and welcome to another Walking Dead Road to Survival video, and in this video we are going to be looking at the season store and going through which characters I think are worth picking up. I do see this question get asked quite a lot on my Discord, people just unsure, maybe want to know basically which ones are worth going for within the 5 stars, ascendables, is it worth getting those back? So we're going to look at the characters and we'll start with the 5 stars. There are 3 5 stars as there were with every season so far. And these 3 5 stars have pretty much always been decent within the 5-star world, at least. And we have Lightning Reflexes Eugene. As a character, very nice character within the 5-star world. Is not a future ascendable in terms of one we know is going to be a future ascendable. He is one of the very few characters that has lightning reflexes. So if he ever did become an ascendable, he'd have maybe one of the very few 6 stars that had lightning reflexes, or lightning reflexes too, however that would work. Now when we look at his adrenaline rush, defense down. So again, if he did become an ascendable, it's great. He gives AP up. Actually a pretty good character as a 5-star, but he's not very useful within the current sort of metas, except that he does have very low AP cost. You can build him into these very niche attack teams where he can have 8% weapon in his hand. You can have other people with 8% weapons. He can rush early or get commanded to rush early, and he can boost someone else's AP when he does that. That is actually pretty nice, but you have to have a very specific team for that to work. Now, if you have that team, great, you'll know that he's going to fit straight into your team. If you have a massive excess in tokens, you could perhaps pick this character up for the potential of that team in the future. But in my opinion, he's worth avoiding, especially if you are new to the game and you have very limited season tokens. You're very niche character in terms of who should pick this guy up. Now the next one is a Telltale character. A lot of people would maybe just pick this guy up because they're a big fan. He is in 5-star tokens, so quite available if I'm honest. I've got a bunch of this guy from 5-star tokens over the last 6 months. He didn't get removed from the last update, so he's still there. He's still available. He is a great 5-star. In the 5-star era, he was fantastic. When I pulled this guy off of, I can't remember which wheel it was, but I was so happy. He made such a big difference. 700% damage to one enemy was amazing. And one enemy gets elusive for 2 turns. If you had him on a defense team, which I did, I also had a shield, so that shield getting elusive for 2 turns was so powerful. Now the leader skill is great, so if this guy ever did become a 6-star, he could become a really good 6-star in terms of being huge amounts of damage. The leader skill would be perfect, especially within free-to-play, just for the fact that free-to-play don't really have great access to those melee attacking leaders that give AP on attack and attack stat, and that's what this guy gives. Now he is all strong teammates as a 5-star, but if he did become a 6-star, you could probably assume at least that he'd become all melee. But even if he remained all strong, he'd still be extremely powerful, just because he'd be the only leader within free-to-play that would give all strong teammates a huge bonus and 40% attack, if, like I said, if he did become a 6-star. Now lastly, we've got Abraham, who is by far the best 5-star out of these 3 in terms of usability right now. He is like the meta character when it comes to taking towers in war. Now there are some other ways you can do it, but this is one of the ways that a lot of people go with. Generally they have 2 of this guy, but 1 still works. Obviously 1 is not going to be anywhere near as fast because you're only going to be able to clear 1 of the 4 waves every couple of turns, whereas with 2 you can complete 1 wave, and then the next wave when it comes up you can just instantly clear it, which is great. Now as a 5-star, he can sometimes work in hordes as well. I've heard good things. Remember Deadhead has been talking about how usable it is in hordes, just basically because again that rush clears 1 entire side of the map, which is very strong. He is a 5-star, so his stats are going to be quite low in that situation, so he can be very easily focused. But as a 5-star, still has great usability within the 6-star world, but it's mainly for taking towers in war. So just if you think you need that character to have your tower team to be stronger, then this is the character to pick up for you. So lastly, we move on to what I will say in air quotes are the top prizes in terms of them being ascendables or this new bag that's come in. First off, we're going to look at Wyatt, and as I said in my first look video of the new store, this is a massive letdown. Wyatt as a 6-star was okay, like okay when he was first released, and it was mainly okay because there weren't that many 6-stars out at the time. He had massive stats. The hold the line made a really big difference at that point because obviously it boosts his stats hugely. And it was all about stats when 6-stars came out. It wasn't so much about rush power. It wasn't so much about that sort of thing. But when he came into the event, which was I think at Christmas 2017, I think it was Christmas 2017, he was in an event where you could pick this guy up in the museum. Most people did pick him up because they were very limited on characters at that point, especially strong characters, especially defensive melee characters. And he fit into a lot of defense teams nicely, but now he's not really fitting in anywhere. People have got better characters. There are much more usable characters. His rush isn't that great. He didn't keep the most important thing from his 5-star, which was the taunt. If he would have kept the taunt from his 5-star to his 6-star, he'd still be a good character. Even if he only taunted 2 for like 1 turn or 1 character for 2 turns, just to have a little bit of taunt on this guy would have been much better. Unfortunately, he lost that, and that made him obviously a much worse character because of it. His stats are pretty nice. They're all nice and balanced, so you can pretty much go any way you want. You can make him quite offensive. I did have him on an attack team at one point in terms of the fact that he has a taunt active skill makes him really nice, so you can control a character. But there are just so many better options, even within free-to-play, that this guy is completely irrelevant when it comes to the 6-star raid metas. Now, in terms of his usability in other parts of the game, sure, he can be used in SR, he can be used in Faction Assault, this sort of thing, without too much of a problem. And if you're a Fisherman fan, I guess he's a Fisherman, so you can pick up a Fisherman if you really want to. But I would say if your tokens are limited, you should probably avoid, if you are someone who is very new to the game, or if someone who has been saving their tokens for a while to try and get their hands on a character, you should probably wait for next seasons and just hope that the returning Ascendable is actually a useful character rather than someone who is not that great. Next up, we'll look at the bags, and I have claimed one of these bags already. I did it on my stream just to show people. When you claim this bag, it doesn't automatically open. That's something I just want to say. It goes into your inventory and you can open it whenever you want. That is great, because obviously it doesn't just instantly take up roster space, because there are obviously a lot of trainers potentially in here. You can get 20 of, Liliths, you can get 10 of Bennies and all the other trainers. Now, the likeliness of getting the 20 is very low. There are people who've already bought 20 bags and only got 10 once, and the rest they got 1s on. But that's the way it goes. You're guaranteed the minimum. So when you look at these rewards, look at the minimum. And for 1 bag, you get a minimum of 1 Lilith or Ulysses. And for 1 bag, you get a minimum of a 2-star trainer effectively on the far side. You get a guaranteed piece of decent gear, which is great. There's no GPS and canteen in here. I would say this bag is definitely worth picking up, especially if you're at the top level and you've got the excess tokens, just because it's trainers, it's gear. There's nothing in here you do not need. And it isn't really that expensive either. 2k tokens is not that much. The biggest downside, of course, of the implementation of this bag is the reduction in the amount of ascendables that are going to be in the store. I talked about it before. It is a letdown, but that's the way it goes. Now, when it comes to the actual trainer bag itself, definitely pick it up. However, if you are new to the game, again, I would say maybe avoid this bag, just because characters are going to have a much bigger influence on your power. Characters are going to have a much bigger influence on your enjoyment. Whereas gear and trainers are just for people who are already pretty set on characters and just trying to boost them up as much as possible. So lastly, we have Leon, and there's a lot of mixed feelings about Leon. Personally, I actually think he's a pretty decent character. He is not a great character. He is not going to be some character that makes a massive difference for attack teams, but he is an attack team character, and free-to-play desperately need this. His attack isn't huge, but it's not terrible. It's basically 2k. With combat mods, you can get that to over 3,000 without even having a great attack on attack mod. If you have attack set and an attack mod, you only have to have a 350 attack mod with all gold attack set mods, and you'll get just about 3k damage. The biggest thing about this character obviously is that he has a decapitate specialist skill, which is really important. Obviously, we did have a decapitate last season. Biggest issue with Regina is she didn't become that great attacking character. She actually became that great defensive character just based on the fact that she had main damage. Now, Leon's percentage damage on his rush is quite low, 400%. It does do it to a line. I personally would have preferred like 500 to 550% just to 1 character, just so I could just take a character out. That would have been much nicer. It didn't have to be to 2. He is basically a weaker version of Wayland, who is a Generation 1 promo decapitate fast character. But this is the first fast character that we've got that has got decapitate within free-to-play. And I would say if you have the tokens, you should definitely pick this guy up. The only people who should not be picking this guy up are people who already have Wayland, but even then, he might be worth picking up still. Or again, if your tokens are extremely limited and this guy doesn't fit directly into your team right now, it might be worth waiting until the end of the season to maybe see some leaks at the end of the season, or just to wait until next season for potential new characters. If you're sitting on 100,000 season tokens, you 100% should just pick this guy up. You never know the characters that would come out in the future that unlock parts of your roster. For instance, just look at Michelle. Instantly, this guy with Michelle works great, but there could be another leader that comes out in the future that is even better, and that's just the way things go sometimes. Michelle unlocked a lot of people's rosters, and that may happen with Leon as well. So in conclusion, I would say pick up Leon, especially if you have the excess tokens. I'm going to be picking up Leon on both my regions. Get as many bags as you can if you're a veteran player, because obviously these bags are really important. Nothing in there is useless for you. It may have different levels of usefulness, but you're going to be using everything that you get from those rewards. Avoid Wyatt pretty much at all costs unless you're a massive Fisherman fan, because that's pretty much the only thing he's going to bring to your roster, is just that little bit of fluff that you've got a Fisherman on your roster basically. When you look at the 5 stars, quite similar to Wyatt in terms of Javi and Eugene, they're just more like fluff characters. The biggest downside of Wyatt is that he's an ascendable fluff character. There being 5 stars being fluff characters is absolutely fine. Having a Telltale character, it just doesn't, I don't feel bad about that. It's just cool. It's a Telltale character. Some people don't have him. If they want him, they can get him. But I would still avoid these characters if your tokens are limited. Definitely pick up Abraham if you haven't got one already. Makes a massive difference. If you already have one, 2 is even better. So I would say 100%. If you need some help in war to take down those towers, Abraham is a great pickup. But that's the end of my video, guys. Do tell me which characters you are going to pick up out of the 5 stars and the 6 stars. Which 5-star gets your eye? You like, I'm a big Telltale fan, I want to get Javi. Maybe you're a Eugene fan. Maybe you really are a Fisherman fan. Who knows? But that's the end of my video. Thank you very much for tuning in. And as always, keep on surviving, guys. Keep on surviving.